All of this points to one or two flashpoints. The one that is being discussed openly in the press is Kharg Island. So let's wargame exactly how that would look. In the sun-scorched waters of the Persian Gulf, a tiny speck of coral and sandstone is just 8 square miles in size, but it's currently the most dangerous piece of real estate in the earth. Kharg Island, not somewhere you can go to on holiday. To the Iranian regime, it is the Forbidden Island, a fortress-like terminal that breathes life into their dying economy. To Donald Trump, it's the ultimate bargaining chip. As the US military continues to dismantle Tehran's conventional air defenses, the whispers from the Pentagon are growing into a roar. The time has come to stop punching the Iranian tiger and to simply cut its throat. The logic is as cold as it is compelling. Roughly 90% of Iran's oil exports flow through this single island. If you control Kharg, you control the bank account of the Ayatollahs or their successors. By seizing it, Washington wouldn't just be winning a battle, it would be holding the regime's jugular in a velvet glove, capable of squeezing until the rump of the Revolutionary Guard Corps finally capitulates. The military blueprint for taking Kharg is on paper fairly straightforward. The US possesses the ultimate island hopping tool, the Marine Expeditionary Unit. Currently, the US's Tripoli, an amphibious powerhouse, is reportedly steaming from the Sea of Japan towards the Gulf, carrying 2,200 US Marines, carrying attack helicopters and carrying F-35 fighter jets. The plan? A lightning strike. Whilst the US has dominance in the air already, and that will have softened the island's defences, the Marines would likely arrive via vertical envelopment, helicopters and tilt-rotor aircraft screaming over the beaches to overwhelm the IRGC defenders. There are no Iranian tank columns here, no endless deserts to traverse. This is not a ground invasion of the mainland. It is a surgical extraction of Iran's economic heart. However, taking the island is the easy part. Holding it is a nightmare. Kharg sits 15 miles off the Iranian coast, but to get there, the MEU would have to run the gauntlet of the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most treacherous choke point. The Iranians, acting like a dying rat backed into a corner, will almost certainly have the waters mined and deploy suicide swarms of fast boats. For Donald Trump, the biggest obstacle isn't the IRGC, it's the American voter. With the midterms looming, the president faces an uphill battle to convince a skeptical public that this is a limited operation. The American collective memory is scarred by Persian misadventures. Voters remember the charred remains of helicopters in the desert during the 1979 hostage rescue shambles. They remember the IEDs of Iraq and the forever war of Afghanistan. The president may insist this isn't a new war, but the American mood is brittle. And then we've got the China card. There is the red dragon in the room. Next month, Trump travels to Beijing. China is a primary customer for Iranian crude, and they'll be watching the Tripoli's progress with simmering fury. In a move that has already set nerves jangling in the east, the US has reportedly diverted a carrier strike group from the South China Sea to the Gulf. To Beijing, this is a provocation. To Trump, it is leverage. The president will likely attempt to reassure President Xi that Kharg will remain operational under US management, effectively turning the Chinese into unwilling partners in pressurizing Tehran. But the cost of Chinese neutrality will be steep. Will Xi demand a reduced US presence in the South China Sea in exchange for looking the other way at Kharg? It's a high-stakes geopolitical bazaar where the currency is global stability. We must not underestimate the suicidal nature of the regime's potential response. They may choose to blow up their own infrastructure on Kharg rather than see it fall into American hands. I remember in 2006 in Iraq when the IRGC backed militias that ran rings around Western intelligence, attacking UK and US allied forces with impunity and keeping it up until the political will to remain dissolved. Taking Kharg Island could be the masterstroke that ends the war by the midterms. But if the gamble fails, it won't just be the Iranian economy that lies in ruins, it will once again be the credibility of the West. So, looping back to the map that we had before, time will tell if Kharg Island here will be the focal point, or is it a deception operation? Could the focal point be some of the islands that are controlling the Strait of Hormuz? There is one island just off the United Arab Emirates that used to belong to the United Arab Emirates. It's called Abu Masua. Abu Masua was taken over in the late 70s by the Iranians. It's effectively a very small island with a large runway on it, off the UAE coast, controlling the entrance from the Red Sea to the Strait of Hormuz. That runway would be a perfect location for attack helicopters, for the A-10 Thunderbolt aircraft, for Marines to be based on, for 82nd Airborne to be based on, and launch operations to control any Iranian activity trying to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. Of course, it doesn't have to be the Marines, as the Marine Expeditionary Unit comes in, backed up by a second Marine Expeditionary Unit steaming from the United States. We've got the 82nd Airborne Division in place, and Kharg Island or Abu Masua could be taken with 82nd Airborne Force parachuting troops in and then having others air-landed onto the airfields to secure them. Both the Marines and the 82nd Airborne are trained in just those sorts of operations. The advantage there would be with Abu Masua is also political. It used to belong to the UAE. Donald Trump could easily turn around and say he is just liberating territory that Iran had legally taken. And whilst he has American boots on the ground there, he can say it's UAE territory and not Iranian territory. Watch this space and we'll see if I'm right and this is a bluff, or Donald Trump is right and that's his main effort. So have we seen with Putin's situation in his war with Ukraine and his desperation, he's losing the support of the Iranians that he used to have as they provided the Shahad drones up into Russia. He's now having to support them with intelligence. There is now a link between the war in Europe and the war in the Middle East. If Donald Trump goes for Kharg Island and tries to pressurize the Chinese into remaining neutral, we've got a link between the war in the Middle East and what Xi Jinping is potentially planning to do in Southeast Asia. We link all of these together, and this is why, for the first time in over 40 years of analysing conflicts or being deployed to conflict zones around the world, I can see a clear path to a global conflict. There's still many moving parts before these come together, but they're not falling apart. They're not moving apart, and this is what worries me.